Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Deleted, Recovered, Trust Little Brother. My mom, 59 female, passed away recently and left her house to me, 25 female. My brother, 24 male, is furious. My mom passed away recently. It was unexpected and devastating. The past few months have been a dark blur, but this post is more about my little brother. We found out that my mom left her only meaningful asset, her home, to me. My brother is hurt and frankly furious. What began as confusion has escalated into him insinuating that I unduly influenced my mom into cutting him out of her will. He has made it clear that he feels entitled to half the value of the house and would like to liquidate the property immediately. Under other circumstances, I would agree. However, while I never spoke with my mom about her will, I understand why she would leave her house to me. My little brother is highly intelligent, gifted, and gregarious. He also has a history of addiction, poor financial decisions, and chaotic relationships. He has had trouble with alcohol, gaming, and a wide variety of drugs, and has consistently resisted my offers to pay for rehab. He used my mom's credit card to spend thousands of dollars a month before she limited him to a debit card, and he has had a great deal of trouble with relationships in general. His worst behavior ranging from threats of ending his life to bursts of anger to outright blackmail. Due to poor grades, a suspension for cheating, and a violent incident, my brother was unable to complete his college degree, despite admission to a very prestigious school, and is now working at a part-time job to gain somewhat relevant experience in his desired field. I see a great deal of potential in my little brother. I remember many examples of him as an intelligent, thoughtful, and delightful person. He is academically gifted, he loves nature and animals, and he is still a fit young man. I do believe my intermittently abusive father, who is no longer in the picture, has had a terrible impact on my brother's mental health. I look forward to the day when my brother accepts my pleas for him to seek therapy. In rare moments, I see genuine regret and desire to change in him. However, these moments are fleeting, and I do not think it would be wise for me to hand over a sizable sum of money to him in his current state. While my brother feels entitled to half of my mom's house, he also knows that I paid off the mortgage on her house and set up a retirement fund for her before she passed away. I decided to pursue a high-paying but high-stress job instead of my creative interests precisely because I knew my mom wanted to retire to focus on her health, and that she had little set aside for retirement after insisting on paying for our educations in full and sponsoring my brother's post-college lifestyle. The profit from this house is likely to be about 1 year's salary and bonus for me, a healthy addition to my investment portfolio, but not a life-changing amount for me. It could, however, change my brother's life. My plan is to sell the house because it is quite far away from where I live and work, and it is in an area not likely to appreciate in value quickly. I would like to diversify and invest the money and create a trust for my little brother. Ideally, I would like to use the money to encourage my brother to go to rehab, seek therapy, and return to school. Spent wisely, this money would even allow him to comfortably pursue a PhD as he originally planned. To maximize the probability that this happens, I of course need to impose certain conditions on the use of this money and may want to oversee large payments or ask for receipts. However, I fear that he will see these conditions as a threat rather than an incentive. I know he is old enough to make his own decisions, but I fear that if I give him the money with no strings attached, he will squander it on drugs and luxuries. He is fond of expensive clothing, food, and tech. Due to the sensitive nature of this issue, I am reluctant to seek advice from even close friends. Do you have any suggestions about managing the money or approaching him? Thank you in advance for your help. OP, first of all, I think the sense of entitlement that your brother has over your mother's house is absolutely wrong, because the fact of the matter is that your mom left that house completely to you, plus you were the one that paid the mortgage. So how he feels about it is absolutely irrelevant. Now, I can tell that you love your brother and you truly want to help him. Some may suggest, hey, tough love, tell him you are going to set up a trust for him, but that he can only access it once he's clean. I believe that the problem with that approach is that he can actually fake the clean and just be clean for a little while in order to access the money, or try to manipulate you emotionally into giving him the money. Either way, it doesn't lead to a good outcome. If I was in your shoes, I'd probably say something like, you know what, I'm gonna sell the house and keep all the money. You're getting nothing because the house is mine. However, my offer to help you still stands and it will always be there when you want to accept it. And that help can start with rehab and therapy and then move on into paying for college and that kind of stuff. The bottom line, OP, is that your brother is an addict, and unless he actively takes the first step into getting clean, then nothing's gonna change. And what do you guys think, or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Enrichment Only says, it's pretty clear she left the house to you because you put all the equity into it. That was only fair. Establishing a trust for your brother is a lovely and generous idea, but it does not sound as if he's in a healthy enough place to take advantage of it yet, and attempting to incentivize, control him in this way will probably create more friction between you. I would consider establishing the trust and not telling him until he is clean. Let him get his own life back on track and then shower him with tuition and whatever after. Willfully Blonde says, so you paid off your mother's mortgage while your brother drained your mother's assets and he feels entitled to her estate? Well, isn't he adorable? Your mother made her choice. I'd abide by it and lay out what a wastrel your brother is and tell him in no uncertain terms to take a leap. But that's me. But you do you. Don't fool yourself that you're going to change your brother's life. He had all that opportunity before and still pissed it away. All you're going to do is give him easier access to funds to spend on drugs. You can impose whatever conditions you want on it, but you can't force an adult to take a piss test and you can't force him to graduate. I think the trust is the best of all options if you decide to give him any money. I personally wouldn't. I'd pay for school and then, and only then, if he pulled his head out of his ass and learned gratitude, I'd then consider a trust. Psycast says, I'm gonna take a different spin on this. You treat your brother like a child, like a subordinate. Your mother coddled him, didn't she? Always prevented him from hitting rock bottom because she was always there to lift him from the pit. You can't assume her role. You need to treat him like an adult, like the violent, angry addict he is. You need to let him fail and have nothing. Holding the money in a trust over his head is just you holding the carrot on a stick in front of him. You want to guide him, be his safety net, and again be his mother. But he is not an investment. He won't accrue interest. His value will not appreciate. Honestly, I think he should give him nothing that the will did not stipulate. Sell the house, give him nothing. Tell him you will be there if he needs any real help, but until then, do not lay down your bailout plans for him. He needs to come to you of his own fruition, as an equal, not because you have the golden goose. Well, I think the community gave OP some pretty solid advice, so now let's move on to the update 6 months later to see what OP ended up doing. Almost 6 months ago, I wrote my post about my little brother. I was overwhelmed by the supportive, empathetic, and useful advice this subreddit gave me. Thank you to every person who took the time to write a comment or message. You have been an unexpectedly helpful resource for me during a confusing time. I felt I owed an update, especially to people who sent me long and detailed advice about my situation. Plus, I'm homesick today, so why not? About a week after I wrote my original post, I invited my brother over for dinner. I wanted to talk to him instead of talking at him, since, as you guys pointed out, I had been treating him too much like my baby brother, even though we're born only 11 months apart. I prepared some of our favorite dishes Mom used to make. He showed up clear-eyed and even helped me finish cooking. We shared funny memories of our childhood, tiptoeing to the basement at night to play PS2 games together, elaborately buying our pet guinea pig, and so many hilarious memories with Mom. I felt like he was my brother again, the gregarious and kind-hearted kid I'd grown up with. We even talked about our abusive father, and I explained how therapy had helped me overcome the sadness and anger I once harbored for him. Eventually, we talked about my mom leaving the house to me. I told him as firmly as I could that I would not immediately give him the money from selling the house, but that I had already set aside money for his school, therapy, and rehab. I told him I would directly pay for all of the above if and when he wanted to go. I have since placed all of the money from the house into a separate investment portfolio earmarked for him. He was usually quite combative when these subjects came up, but he was silent while I talked. Then he cried. He told me he was sorry to me and to my mom for all the selfish things he had done. The lying, the threatening, the stealing. He said he still wanted to pursue a PhD like he's wanted since he was 17, but he was scared that he was going to fail. He talked about how unexpectedly difficult the transition from high school to college was. He felt that high school was so easy by comparison. He was academically gifted. I'm talking near perfect SAT on his first try and barely studied. He was a top athlete and effortlessly popular, and he never felt desire for drugs or alcohol beyond trying weed and drinking beers at a few parties. He felt unprepared for college. He could no longer get straight A's with his usual minimal effort. His first real romantic relationships were chaotic, and he quickly escalated to coping with hard drugs and hard liquor. He told me he felt so humiliated about failing to graduate that he had lied about it to all of his classmates, in addition to lying about it to me and mom for a long time. It was heartbreaking to hear him explain his experiences. We talked until the sun came up. I told him I was so thankful that he opened up to me. I was proud of him for wanting to get better, and I would support him in whatever he decided to do. We had a long hug before he left, and he promised to message me about the next steps. I felt relieved and optimistic. He had reached rock bottom and was ready to move on. Sadly, I was wrong. He had not reached rock bottom yet. Despite our breakthrough evening, he did not respond to my messages and emails the next day. A day later, I received alerts from my bank about suspicious transactions. At some point that night, he had stolen my debit card information. I was shocked. I messaged him saying that I was hurt and disappointed, and that this was a really serious mistake that could have landed him in jail if he had done it to someone else. No reply. I sent several more messages over the next week with no replies. I was relieved to see that he was still active on social media because it meant he was still alive, so I decided to just accept that he was avoiding me and leave him alone. 2 weeks later, I received a call in the middle of the night. Long story short, my brother went on a trip with some friends. Lots of hard drugs and alcohol were involved. One of his best friends, his former roommate, overdosed. My brother called me from the hospital sobbing incoherently. His friend was an only child from another country, incredibly bright and high functioning despite having a drug problem like my brother, since he somehow managed to graduate near the top of his class. His family was devastated. The other friend, who had supplied them with the substances, effectively vanished and did not bother attending the funeral service. It was all heartbreaking. In the aftermath, my brother finally agreed to see a therapist to work through the grief of losing his friend and to finally confront his own struggles, including his addictions, mom's death, and our father's abuse. It was difficult to find a therapist my brother liked and trusted, but we found a good fit on our 4th try, and he has been seeing him regularly for 3 months. He moved out of his old place, which he shared with several people who still heavily partake in the substances which caused his friend's death, and into an apartment with my friend from high school. They got along quite well, and my brother told me he has been clean since he moved in, which I believe, though I can never know for sure. He pays his rent with his part-time job, and I pay for his therapy sessions. He apologized profusely for stealing my debit card information and confirmed that he was motivated by his addictions at the time. He has also dived into a pretty rigorous fitness regime. I'm talking 10-mile daily runs, lots of weight training, and an overnight shift to a vegan diet, which I recognize may be an alternative, albeit much healthier, outlet for his addictive tendencies. We talk frequently, grab coffee or brunch most weekends, and occasionally play PS4 games together. I am trying to be as supportive as possible without being overbearing, since, as you guys pointed out in my last post, I really can't control the actions of another adult, and making good decisions will ultimately fall to him. His recovery hasn't been exactly linear, but his mental state has improved drastically. So much so, in fact, that he is planning to return to school in 3 months to finish his degree. It took many discussions with his university since he had already failed several additional semesters, was involved in a cheating incident, he allowed his friend to copy part of his take-home exam, and had an altercation with campus police during his breakup with his ex-girlfriend. But with the help of a sympathetic dean, the university decided to give him one more chance. If he completes 4 classes, he will have enough credits for his degree. Pursuing a PhD may still be tricky since I'm not sure if the prestige of his university and his part-time research experiences outweigh his inconsistent GPA and poor record, but at the very least he will have better options with a diploma. I was more than happy to pay his tuition for the semester, and I hope I can continue to support his education. I think that pretty much sums it up. I feel proud and optimistic, but also more cautious than I felt before. I am mentally prepared for a long, bumpy road, even though I can't help hoping that this is truly my brother's turning point. I am heartbroken for his friend who passed away and for his friend's family, but I'm so grateful that his tragedy inspired my brother to seek help rather than to fall deeper into his dangerous habits. And I am grateful for all the strangers in this sub who took the time to give me advice almost 6 months ago. You guys really opened my eyes to mistakes I was making, such as enabling and coddling him. I don't think many people will make it to the end of this post since I've unwillingly written an essay, but thank you all for your advice and support. Well, OP, it is good to know that your brother had a wake-up call and is getting his life back on track. Sadly, it did come from the overdose of a friend, and I do feel sorry for his family as well. Hopefully your brother can stay the course and stay sober. All the best to the both of you, OP. Take care and thank you for sharing. And now let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user FredSam25. Account closing fee? Okay, leave my account open forever. A long time ago, I worked at a company that gave me a retirement account through Fidelity. I eventually changed jobs to a different company that provided a retirement account through another provider. So I call up Fidelity to roll my old account funds into my new one. Fidelity can do that for me, but there is a $50 account closing fee. Why do they have an account closing fee? Because F me, that's why. I tried to be clever and say leave $1 in the account, but they require a $50 minimum in case you do want to close at a later date. Cue Malicious Compliance. Okay, roll over all my funds except for $50. Keep the account open. Send me quarterly updates on my $50. Invest it, make it grow. I now have a tradition. Once a year I call Fidelity to transfer over all but $50 of my account balance, usually just a check for a few dollars. By this point, I've cost them way more than $50 of service, postage, and checks they mail to me, but I still have a few decades to retirement. Let's see how much I can cost them before they give me my $50. I'll go to my grave with that account still open if it means Fidelity never gets the account closing fee. Why? Because F them. Oh, OP, there's not much to say about this except delicious. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.